Well, at least they tried. Hi everybody, I'm Luke Filmboss, and today I will be reviewing Disney's Alice Through the Looking Glass. The look of this film was very stunning and visually creative, even more so than the original, but this movie has a lot of story problems with it, so let's get into it. Once again, this movie tries to focus on the Mad Hatter's more grounded, human, down-to-earth side, and he starts out way too dark like he was in the original movie, but they bring it to an extreme this time. But at least we get to see a silly Hatter in the time travel sequences and scenes, but he never quite seems like the Hatter. And as the movie progresses and we get back to the present time Mad Hatter, he's not dark or grumpy, but there's something lacking. He's not the Mad Hatter. He's just Johnny Depp giving a performance. He acts like a child. He's not acting like the crazy Mad Hatter. And once again, I didn't like what they did with the Mad Hatter in this movie. Yes, I liked some of the child Mad Hatter's backstory and stuff, but did anybody really ask for that? It's not something that we really wanted or needed to see. And so while some of it was well done, like the Mad Hatter's childhood scene where he makes his first hat and shows it to his father and then is somewhat rejected by his father in a sense that his father doesn't like the hat, that was good stuff, but it wasn't really necessary stuff. It doesn't really improve the movie or the franchise, and we'll get into why it doesn't in just a moment. This is still Alice's movie, and so I obviously have to talk about Alice. She was pretty good when she's in Underland, but anytime she's in the real world, she's pretty bad. Either she gives a bad performance, or the script just doesn't work, or the scene she's in is just boring or confusing or strange. Like the opening ship sequence where she's trying to escape from pirates, none of that really seemed important. I guess it was building up to the fact that she was going to be sailing through a sea of time in Underland, but it really wasn't necessary. Yes, it builds a connection to the ship, which I guess means a lot to Alice, but they didn't do it in the right way, and even if it was done in the right way, the acting in that scene was just bad. And then in the middle, there's a scene where Alice goes back to the real world through a looking glass, and then she wakes up and she's chained up in this institution. She's going to get injected with a shot to cure her illness. That was just really strange, and none of it advanced the movie in any meaningful way. There was some good stuff, like at the party when she's wearing her Chinese dress and everything. A lot of that writing and such was very well done, and it leads to good payoff at the end. But overall, I really wish that they just completely stuck to Underland. I wouldn't have cared if they didn't connect us to the real world at all. This movie should have been just a complete escape from the real world. Instead, they dragged us back way too many times. I didn't hate everything about this movie. I actually thought there was some good character moments and good writing. And once again, the visuals were impressive. It's just that this film never fully pays them justice. There's no good payoff, and some things were just too simple and easy to overcome. For example, there's this one scene where the Red Queen has Alice and her friends captured in a cage with these vegetable creatures keeping them hostage, and the vegetable peoples just helped the Red Queen contain the chronosphere, which she needs to go back in time with. And how does Alice and her friends escape? The vegetable people simply just let them out of the cage a few seconds after the Red Queen leaves, because the Red Queen was eating parts of their bodies. That is really a lame excuse for how they escape. It was just lazy writing, because if they were really upset about the Red Queen doing that to them, why did they help her contain Alice and her friends in the first place? And why did they help her get the chronosphere? It just doesn't work. Also, the scene where the entirety of Underland and all of its time and past is all overcome by the time rust. That was all pretty good. But how does it get resolved? Is there any meaningful way that it's overcome? No. Alice literally gets a few inches from it, and then everything gets covered in the time rust, and it's like this big moment where, wow, did we lose? A few seconds later, a spark comes from the chronosphere to the time clock, and the time rust just goes away within a matter of minutes. And so all of that suspense, the climax, is just overcome within just a few minutes very easily with no real effort outside of just running to get the chronosphere back. It's just very anticlimactic. There's nothing special about what happened, and then everything goes happily ever after. Once again, another point where it's just too easy is the Red Queen and the White Queen. When the White Queen apologizes to the Red Queen, and then the Red Queen says, "That's all I ever wanted to hear." I mean, that was okay. I didn't mind it. It was a little bit too childish for me, but that was okay. It's just that I wanted so much more. The Red Queen was evil, but then her heart and her mind just get completely turned back to a good mentality because she heard her sister apologize. It works, but it's just not as good as it should have been. The story of the Red and White Queen in this movie is probably the best part. Honestly, they should have just made this movie about getting the Red Queen's heart to change back to the way she was as a child and exploring her backstory. Yes, they needed to find out something else to bring the time travel elements in and why that would be necessary, and they needed a little bit more substance if you take out the Mad Hatter story, and it honestly needed to be taken out. Nobody really needed or wanted to see the Mad Hatter find his family because the first film doesn't establish any real emotion or connection to the family. It's all suddenly introduced into this movie for no reason, and then we go on this adventure to get his family back. None of that works because it's not something we wanted. The first film does set up somewhat of a connection between the Red Queen and her sister, and it makes you wonder what led both of them to where they're at. Why on earth is the Red Queen not the Queen of Underland? Why did she have to become a tyrannical dictator? And this movie answers those questions. Once again, it's a little bit childish. Some of the explanations are a little bit too simple, like her head gets big because of an accident, but then like it really gets big because she gets angry that people are laughing at her and her head swells up even bigger. That's a little bit childish, and it's not really as good of an explanation as we need. Yes, it's Underland, it's supposed to be strange, and it fits in that way, but it's just not as good as it should be. Once again, I have mixed feelings on some of it. It's somewhat good, but yet it's just somewhat lazy writing. One of the really good parts about the backstory, though, is when the Red Queen and White Queen are children, and the White Queen steals the last tart when their mother told them not to, and then she pretty much frames the Red Queen and then lies about eating the tart, saying that the Red Queen did it, and that causes the Red Queen to really feel betrayed. And as a child, that really works. It makes sense. Something as simple as a tart led to Underland being the big tyrannical injustice that it was in the first film under the Red Queen's rule, because of one simple mistake, one simple lie that the White Queen made as a child that really made her sister feel unloved. I thought that was really good. It establishes, both in the first film and in this film, that the Red Queen just wants love. She feels unloved. And so there was some good payoff. It makes a little bit of sense why the Red Queen would be so turned back to the good that she was as a child because of hearing that apology. But once again, it's undertoned. And I think the real major reason that it is undertoned is because of the Mad Hatter story. They try to balance them out, but neither story really gets fully developed or impactful. The Red and White Queen story is the more impactful, but then at the end, when the White Queen apologizes and the two sisters hug, it's cut way too short and is kind of ruined, because then right away you're turned towards the Mad Hatter being reunited with his family, and that scene was just badly portrayed and acted. Time plays a big role in this movie, both as a character and as the general idea of time, which essentially the character is. I thought that what they did with the time travel, with the Time's character, all of the different aspects that he is controlling in the world of time, was all pretty interesting. The actor that they got for him was pretty fun. He gave a fun performance. And I'd say that the best scene in this movie is when Alice first goes to his castle, watches him, and then is introduced to him. And then she finds out that he's in love with the Red Queen and that she needs the chronosphere. And then she goes and she steals the chronosphere so that she can go back in time to get the Mad Hatter's family back. That scene was pretty good. And then watching her sail the ocean of time, that scene was probably the best stuff in the movie. Sadly, that stuff couldn't have lasted the whole movie. I mean, it could have, but it just didn't. But overall, I liked what they did with time by making it more than just a concept that they put into the movie. They really made it the core center of the movie, both in its character, in its plot, the story, and in its message. It's all about time and about whether or not time is good or bad. And I love the message that time doesn't steal. Time is not a thief. It gives before it takes. Every day is a gift. And I just love that. That message and what they did with the time stuff almost made this movie enjoyable to where I actually think it's a good movie. But there's just too much that's not great and that's actually bad about the movie that just drags it down to where I can't say that I quite like it. I wouldn't mind watching it again, and it's definitely good for kids. Kids aren't going to notice the flaws, but there's just too much that I didn't enjoy about it that just don't make it an overall enjoyable film. But once again, the time stuff and the message were almost enough to get this film to a positive. So with that being said, I give Alice Through the Looking Glass a 43% in quality, a 63% in enjoyment, for an overall score of 53%. Thanks everybody for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell to help you be on the lookout for more videos from Luke Filmboss.